4 of the Operations Management Service Design Lecture. I'm going to spend a little bit of time talking about services versus manufacturing. When we're talking about services, as mentioned in the previous slide, it's really intangible products. It's things that can't be seen or heard. I can't drop a service on your foot. I can't inventory myself in terms of the amount of hours that I have. And it's really designed around the overall customer experience. You're going to be dealing with high contact. Again, it's that direct customer and employee interface. I enjoy working in a services organization. To me, it's tied intricately with deliverable. My team is able to be dispersed. I only have probably a quarter of my team actually within drivable distance to meet with, as they're spread out throughout the globe. The keys from this, management consulting, restaurants, all different things, are things that you need to think about. Services are perishable. They're variable. They're intangible. I showed you this in a previous slide, but the stepping through from a intense labor intensity and customization. Professional services are highly labor intensive and highly customized. For each of our customers, we provide a different service. If you look at a couple of different ideas, I talked about McDonald's and Barnes & Noble in earlier slides, and we've talked about the Ritz-Carlton in the past as well. If I look at McDonald's, it's a service line, production line approach to services. I'm getting in line, I'm getting my burgers, I'm getting my fries, I'm getting my Big Mac. I'm going to Barnes & Noble, I'm going and I'm picking up my books. I'm finding my books, and then I'm waiting in a queue to pay. And I go to the Ritz-Carlton, and I'm being very attentively helped and getting personal attention from the sales reps. A lot of this in designing the different components create some competitive dimensions. Things are around the treatment of the customer. How quick and how convenient can I service my customers? What are the price points of my services? Is there a variety of services that I provide? And what are the different tangible aspects of what I'm providing to the organization? A lot of times you have to look at it almost from a three-legged stool perspective. If I'm the customer sitting on the seat, I'm a customer. I rely on systems, I rely on strategy, and I rely on my employees. In the previous time when we looked at this slide, we talked about looking at it from a conceptual to a delivery perspective. What I want to make sure that we focus on coming back to it is the customer and how this impacts the customer in the overall. If we were to go back and look at that blueprinting slide again, you would see that you need to understand the use of influence. How am I getting a user into a store? How am I getting people to buy seats on a flight or buy tickets on a train? What am I getting to do to get people to buy my album? How am I interacting with that customer? If I have a new album, let's just say I'm my own recording band and I'm putting a new album out, how am I going to sell it? How am I going to drive people to the sales of the album? What is the visibility that I'm going to have to this, and how is it going to be supported? If I'm trying to sell the album on my own, what are some of the pros and cons? If I'm using iTunes, what are some of the benefits? And what do you do when people need to wait or have to wait? How do you make these operations quicker? How do you increase your profit, limit your cost, and have the least amount of wait time? What type of queuing systems are key and important to make sure organizations run properly? And how much patience do you have? At what point do you give up? I mentioned in an earlier class my experience with the emergency room in Las Vegas. I was very quickly put through the initial stages in terms of the testing in under 40 minutes. And then I had to wait 6 hours. I almost left. The line and the wait was too long. And it questioned my my commitment to that facility in terms of whether or not I felt I was going to get the right type of service. And it does tie back to that psychology of waiting. They did not do the things that Bank of America does, that supermarkets do, that waiting rooms do. They just left me. Now, the key with that, you'll see the image at the bottom shows Southwest Airlines, the A31 through 60 and the B1 through 30, and the rules that come with waiting in line. You know, how do you make sure the customers are rewarded? How do you why is it important to be the first to make a reservation? And what are the different ways to look at the single channel versus the multi-channel? Again, over and over, how do you do this? What can we do to make things more efficient and effective? What can I do as an individual? As a frequent flyer, I very much appreciate the ability to get on the plane first. I appreciate the ability to go through security quicker. It's more from a convenience perspective. I am more likely to fly American Airlines because of the perks that I get, because I don't like to wait in line. And I don't want to be just considered a number. So if you were looking at this from how to manage queues, you have to first determine what the acceptable wait time is. And for different things, it'll be variable. If you're waiting in line out in front of Best Buy to get the next version of the Madden video game, if you're waiting in line out in front of a movie or a concert ticket sales to get the first tickets. Now, what some organizations now do, or what some people now do with wait times, is do things to avert the customer's attention while waiting. You'll see, objects for sale or different things to do to make the wait time seem more palatable. Communicating and informing your customers is typically the best way to make sure that you're keeping them calm. And make sure to keep the employees that are not helping the customers out of sight. The last thing you want to see when you're waiting for a drink at a restaurant is another server just standing next to the bar talking to the bartender. Train your team to be friendly. Make sure to try to encourage customers to come in downtimes. Let people know, hey, why don't you come back in a half hour? There'll be nobody here. Or the best time to fly is X. And look at all of this from a long-term perspective. As we've looked at these last 4 components related to service design and delivery, we've really hit on these tasks. We talked about the challenges of services operations. We talked about service process and blueprinting, wait line management, single server models, and managing queues. Hopefully these 4 miniature lectures have given you a good understanding about how you go about service design. Thank you.